probably are crazy.
People listening to this are going to be like, these people
Someone
are
get them in
crazy.
therapy, like...
Doctor, she's out of bed again.
Welcome back to our 5th installment of Do Not Disturb. You know me, I'm Analise.
I'm Anna.
And this week we're back and better than ever. This is actually our final podcast episode of the semester. Trust, we will be back come fall. But, you know, we started off the semester talking about, you know, the art of the busy bee and how Anna and I do so much. So we kind of thought it would be interesting to make it full circle by closing off with a conversation on imposter syndrome.
Yeah, so we kind of kicked off the semester discussing our involvements and responsibilities and how we navigate the challenges of a busy schedule. So now we want to shift more into the mental obstacles that we've experienced, like associated with our many involvements. So first off, I guess just let's give an overview. What is imposter syndrome?
See, I honestly didn't know what it was for the longest time. It wasn't until I did an ad campaign last semester for, like, Impossible Foods. I did, like, Impossible Syndrome that I, like, really understood what it was, because to me it was always like, oh, you're just like pretending to be someone you're not, but it's more of like you are something but you don't think that you are that thing. It's very like self-doubt and in terms of like intellect, skill, and achievements.
Yeah, I think it's something that I definitely like didn't think. I kind of knew vaguely in concept what it was, but I didn't necessarily like identify with it. I wasn't like, this applies to me. And then like the term popped up more and more now and again, and I guess kind of looked into it more, and I was like, oh, so this is like that underlying anxiety that I've been feeling for a while. Like, this is actually, there's a name for that, and it's this like self-doubt about intellect, skills, and achievements. So what's funny is when I was researching for this episode, many sources defined imposter syndrome as high-achieving individuals' inability to internalize their accomplishments, or like high achievers' inability to acknowledge their achievements, which is funny because like innate to the concept is that you are a high achiever, but the whole thing is that you're doubting being a high achiever. So it's just kind of this like cyclical, impossible dilemma.
It's very internalized. Like, let me tell you, I don't hate to even say this, but I've met some of the dumbest people who are so confident in themselves, and that's honestly what propels them towards success. I feel like imposter syndrome, it's so tough because you could literally be so smart, but if you don't believe it, like, it's not going to take you anywhere.
I feel like for me, it's definitely heavily tied to my perfectionism, and how it's not like I'm walking around being like, oh, I wrote this paper and got into this class, but what if I didn't actually? Like, it's not like that. It's more so like doubting your kind of future abilities. So like, I'll get this feeling of like, I'm going to graduate with a degree from the College of Communications, but what if I find myself in a job where like I'm not actually qualified? What if I'm like walking around lying about my, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of get this feeling of like, people are going to realize that I don't know as much as I'm supposed to. And that's what imposter syndrome is. And I think it's tied to perfectionism, because I'm like, I have this fear of like making mistakes like this. If I don't know an answer to a question, I start to feel like panicked and stupid. And it's like that I'm kind of projecting that into the future, being like, okay, what if I like encounter a question and that I don't know the answer to, and it's because I'm not actually as qualified as I said I was. I shouldn't have been put in this position. But then I have to kind of calm myself down and remind myself that the reason I've been put in this position is because someone else talked to me, saw my resume, and knew that I would be good there. So I kind of have to like, it's not just about trusting yourself. It's about like trusting other people who put you there and being like, okay, like hopefully they knew what they were doing.
I always say I get such bad test anxiety, but it's not even like, I mean, of course, it's about, like, what the end grade is going to be, but more than anything, I'm terrified to take a test and not know how to, like, solve an answer. Like, I took history and principles of journalism. Oh, my God, I was so scared I wasn't going to know, like, the name of some famous journalist on that exam, and then I'd be like, oh, my God, like, the thought of leaving it blank, like, I'm stupid and I'm a horrible person because I can't remember, like, who these people are. But I feel like for me, my root issues with imposter syndrome go back to like literally elementary school. Like when they give you those spelling tests, like I always had to like get 100 on them, or like I didn't feel like I was doing good enough, which is like crazy. Girl, you were 7 years old. You should have, I felt that at the time too. I think I've always been like,
you know, maybe like we would do these mad minutes, these mad math minute like tests where in like a minute you had to solve as many of those, like, yeah, exactly, those times tables. And like I've always used like weird techniques to remember answers. Like it's like sometimes it's not necessarily because I like know how to, I don't do it the traditional way. It's more like, you know, my brain has found some like, you know, study hack to remember this answer. And then that leads to me being like, what if I didn't actually learn it and I've just convinced myself that I've learned it, and then like I'm going to go forward and not know the information. And that's kind of this like feeling that I have. Like I get this, I'm a Spanish minor and I'm like, I'm going to Madrid for the summer, and I have this kind of like fear, imposter syndrome adjacent fear there, where I'm like, what if I like, I just don't actually know as much Spanish as I think. And it's like, girl, regardless of how you've chosen to remember how to say certain things, you're having a full conversation. That's knowing Spanish. Like, you know what I mean? I kind of, you know, start criticizing the way that I learn, and then in turn doubting what I can do with what I've learned.
Everybody always wants to fight me when I say this, but I always feel really stupid, and that's like, oh my god, people are like, what do you mean you have all like A's, whatever, but like genuinely I only feel like I get good grades because I study like so hard. Like it just takes me longer to learn things, like to like nail them in my head, and I just have a very good work ethic, so that results in me getting a good grade. But like off the dome, I don't think, and I don't know, that's a horrible way to think, but it's so hard to like to not. And then even like with grades, like I mean, I've kept my 4.0 for however long, but now it's like this source of pressure because I'm like, oh my god, this like a 4 and a 0 like define, I feel like, my self-worth. Like I think I mentioned this in another episode, but like I cried when I got an 85 on a statistics test in high school, and like statistics is hard, like, and that's a good grade by all means, and I was having a panic attack. I don't even know, no one could console me, like. So I think there's also the aspect to look at, like, you shouldn't, I don't know, I define a lot of my like value by numbers, and I wish I didn't.
I think that for me, I mean, we've talked about this in past episode too, but like I didn't really define my value by numbers. I barely looked at my grades. I was more just like, which also I think has contributed to my imposter syndrome in a different way, because it's been like, you know, it's made me, I went to a great school, but the fact that we didn't have like, you know, class rank, we didn't have GPAs out and about, I felt like, you know, going into college, I was like, I didn't have real school the way the rest of these people did, and the only thing, it's made it feel like kind of the only thing that's got me in is that the reputation of the high school I went to, like the same way that BU is like, you know, when you're applying for jobs, it's great to have BU on the resume. I went to a high school that like it was pretty good to have on the resume, so like I have this like feeling of like, what if my, you know, education, things I learned there, or like my accomplishments that came out of there, and like getting into BU and any future opportunities that it's led to me, I'm like, what if it's not my intellect and ability that got me there, but rather the title of the, you know, school I went to.
I think your upbringing really like dictates how well you deal with imposter syndrome, because everybody has it. I don't care, the most confident person probably has some ounce of this, but I feel like how you handle it is based on your background and upbringing. And the thing I dislike about, I guess, like grading in school is like it's very, they're just, I don't know, people think there's one way to measure intelligence. They're really not. Like, I am so happy that BU is test optional my year, because my SAT score was terrible. I'm just not a good like test taker. I don't, like, give me a calculator or no calculator and I can't do like basic math problems. Like, that's just not my niche. But then I look at my AP exams and I got a 5 on Lit, Lang, and US History, and like those are all like my strong suits. So then I was like, you know what, maybe I'm not that stupid, you know? But I feel like even it's followed me into college. I always thought that, like, you know, once I got to college, I was really going to chill out about the grades, because high school is kind of just like good grades, good grades, good grades, get you to a good college, and then boom, you're done. Because I don't know, I don't really think I want to go to grad school at this point. But it's just, it's crazy. I still can't get rid of it. I'm still like, if I don't get an A, like, I'm going to like lose my mind. And I think sometimes that contributes to me not wanting to take certain classes if I feel like I can't get an A in them, which is stupid, because like it's less about the grades, more about the experience.
Yeah, I agree that your classes and anything you experience at college should be more about like, you know, what you can get out of it versus the letter or number attached to it at the end of the semester. I think I've been, thinking ahead to senior year. I'm in a situation where like all of my major and minor credits are going to be filled. It's just about enough credits to graduate. So like I have a lot of freedom in choosing my classes, and I've been thinking a lot, I've had the opportunity to think critically about like, okay, what extra knowledge do I want to squeeze out of my time at BU before I leave? You know what I mean? So I've been thinking about, so I'm taking like a class at CAS, I'm taking like intro to international relations, but like I'm just taking kind of random classes that sounded kind of interesting just to like, put a few extra things on my tool belt. And like it's also those are not topics that I'm well versed in, so it's going to be kind of like interesting to see what type of grade comes out of that for me and how I react to that.
Like, my biggest thing is I just wish grades didn't keep me up at night. Like, it used to in high school all the time. Like, I used to think, like, in the movies, like, when the kid would fall asleep on, like, their math textbook, like, that was, like, a funny gag. That happened to me with my history textbook so many times, because I would go to school from 7:30 to, like, 2:30, and then right after that I would go to track practice to, like, from, like, 3 to 7 or less than that. And then I would go home and I'd do all this homework, and I'd shower, and I'd eat dinner. And then next thing I know, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm in my bed, and I'm like, I had this history teacher. Oh my God, he used to give us a quiz every single class on like the chapter. So girl, the amount of times I woke up and my face was glued to Paul Revere's Great Ride, like it was crazy. I had to like pee on my, and I was like, oh my God, like girl, lock in. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. Like this is crazy. And it kept me up. I lost so much sleep like my sophomore year of high school and so on, just because I was like so worried about my grades, and there was literally no reason to be.
I think any sleep I lost in high school was more due to procrastination. Like, it would be like I hadn't been doing an assignment, and then I had to do the whole thing in one night, and it was not meant for that. I think that I got to college, and things were a little bit harder, and we had finals, and I didn't even know how to approach that because I had never had that before. And it kind of hit me that, like, I was like, did I, I don't know, was I that good at, like, this stuff in high school, or was it just that, like, it wasn't difficult?
I felt slightly opposite coming to college, because my high school was like, oh my God, you do in-class timed essays and exam every week, test this, quiz that. Like, I was stressed out constantly. So when I came to college, and, like, most of the classes only have, like, 2 quizzes a semester, 1 final, 1 midterm maybe, I was like, man, it's a lot more, like, reading and, like, tedious work to, like, really understand the work. But I know this sounds contradictory, but I feel a lot smarter in college, because it's not like I'm just quick memorizing a chapter of a history book and then I'm moving on with my life. Like, I'm actually trying to learn stuff. But for me, I feel like my, like, doubts about my intelligence go back to literally kindergarten, because my mom used to sit and read with me all the time, but I, for some reason, I don't know if I was dyslexic. I had reading teachers up until I was in 3rd grade. Like, I couldn't, all my, like, friends were on chapter books. I could not, for some reason, get it together. And all my friends, like, I don't know, they used to do, like, color groups. So, like, like, red was, like, you're stupid. Like, yellow, green, you're, like, advanced.
We called the extra help group the, like, Rainbow Unicorns or something. Like, they had a specific name. They were like, okay, now the Rainbow Unicorns are going to go in the other room with Miss Dubois. And I was like, I thought it was, like, it worked. I thought it was like a VIP club I was invited to. I was like, yo, how do I get in on the Rainbow Unicorn shit? And it was, girl, I did not want to be part of that.
See, my thing was, I was friends with all the smart kids. So, like, they were always out. I hated getting separated from them. And I'm like, man, am I, like, and I used to hate getting pulled out of class to do these damn reading tests. I'm like, I don't even know what caused me to lock in, but finally when I hit 4th grade, I passed some, like, we used to think this thing called, like, Alexia or something like that, like some reading test, and I finally passed it with a high enough score that I got put into advanced reading. I just think it's so funny. I literally couldn't read or write properly. Like, I used to put my B's and D's backward, and now I came to school for journalism. I, like, am good with written communication. Like, that's my whole niche. Math, we're still working on. You know what? I don't think I need to know a lot of heavy equations, but
you say that it was, a wonder that you were friends with the smart kids, but I feel like you were one of the smart kids. Like, that's why you were friends with them. That was just your friends. You were the smart kids. You were in this, I feel like, struggling with one aspect of academics or another doesn't define your intelligence. It's just, everyone's brain works differently. I feel like intelligence isn't
not one size fits all. There's
It's
so
not
many
one
ways
size fits.
to-
I feel like intelligence isn't like about how you gather information. It's about what you can do with it once you have it.
Exactly. So that's why like competitiveness in like high school is so much different than in college. Because in high school, you're just like, I mean, for me anyways, like who can get the highest class rank. In college, I mean, you turn to this app like LinkedIn and you go on every day and you see like everybody's getting all these internships and you're like, what the hell am I doing wrong? Because like, let me tell you, this semester I've had so many interviews, and I'm not even saying this to sound stuck up, but I don't know how more qualified it could be for some of these positions. Like some of the asks that they want you to do in this role, I've already done for like ad lab or for class or just in like clubs alone. Like I'm the advertising chair for the Daily Free Press. I've raised $30,000 in 3 semesters. I worked with clients like Uber One, Amazon Prime, and they still don't want me. I'm like, literally, what more can I be doing? I'm like, maybe I'm just actually like stupid, or maybe I just don't have a good personality. Like it just didn't transcend through the interview. Like, damn, like this is crazy.
No,
And
dude, it's nepotism and networking. You gotta
it's
know.
also got to be timing, because let me tell you, I've interviewed for some of these places and I have had a fabulous call with the person. And I'm like, wow, we're vibing. This is so great. Like, I've shown my personality. I'm being authentic. We're just chatting. And then 3 days later, I get that email. We're moving forward with another candidate. I'm like, right. So it's disheartening in the sense that, like, it'd be one thing if my resume wasn't stacked. I've stacked my resume. I'm like, what the?
Yeah,
What
it's
is
about to
wrong
topple
with me?
over.
Like, I have a 4.0. I have all these like different like random side hustles I've done. Like, it's crazy. And everybody's like, well, why is your resume so full? Like, why do you have so many of these random little things? Like, give yourself some room to breathe. And I'm like, because I just feel so like, not incompetent. I don't want to say that, but like, I don't have enough ground to stand on. I feel like I haven't done anything sufficient enough that at
You
least.
want more things to point to say, here is proof that I
Exactly.
am capable.
Exactly. You put the nail in the coffin with that one. It's funny, too, because I took a portfolio class last semester. One thing about me, I take criticism to the heart. No matter what it is, it comes directly to the heart. I'm like, oh my God, they think I'm a terrible person. Like, it's never that deep. And I remember for my first portfolio, I had never designed a website. So literally, I put every achievement on there I've ever accomplished in my life. And I was like, yes, this is it. This is all of it. It looks great. I showed it to my professor. I love her. And she was just kind of like, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's kind of busy. It's kind of like everything but the kitchen sink. And I was like, haha, yeah, I'm just a maximalist. And it's like, I am a maximalist, but also like it's just like me trying to feel like I need to compensate for like what I feel like I don't have. But when she told me that, I was like, oh my God, she doesn't like my portfolio. Like, this is terrible. Like, everything I've done, it's not enough. Like, oh my God. But literally, after I like stepped back, I literally went to Emory Park. I cried at Emory Park after this class. And then I went home that night and I looked it over and I was like, all right, we got to lock in. And then I finally turned my portfolio and it made it on the website. Like, you just kind of like got to step back and reevaluate and realize that like not everything everyone's like, I guess if you have very severe imposter syndrome, everything anybody says to you is going to like get under your skin. But the more you learn how to like not let it bother you, like the more successful you can become in the long run.
Yeah, I definitely like, I think that's been a theme with me my entire life. Like my dad used to make fun of, like when I was a little kid, I was known for, or my dad made me feel like I was known for saying, I know. Like he would go, I know. Because like I was walking around going, like saying, I know. But it was because like even from when I was like, I think from the moment I gained consciousness, I was literally like so, it was so interesting because I was not someone that was like super insecure, but it was more so like I hated feeling like people thought there was something I didn't know. You know what I mean? Like, so I would be like, and it's not like I was lying about the things I knew, but it would be like if someone were to, I was kind of a defensive thing. Like if someone were to say something that was like, you know, here's how you do this. Maybe to me, it would be like implying that they think that I don't know how to do that. So I would be like, I know. Like, I don't know if that seemed like a fair response to me, but like that, I like was thinking a lot about that recently. And it's like, it is still my knee-jerk reaction to be like, to instead of just be like, okay, or like, you know, there must have been something I done to prompt that unless we're in like a really tragic mansplaining situation.
Oh my God.
There's like, I should be more trusting of the fact that that I'm not perfect. There's something that I've done to make this person think that they need to clarify this for me, and I should just be like, okay, you know, thanks for letting me know. But instead my reaction is to be like, it's like, no, I know, like, here's why I was doing it this way, or like here's defending my, you know what I mean? Like it'll even happen in situations where it's like, girl, it's not that deep. Like I've started bartending at Yard House, right? So like I've worked there for 1.5 years, but I've now recently moved up to the bar. So there's a couple things that I'm not familiar with, but for the most part, I know how the restaurant works. And, like, you know, someone will be like, oh, we put this here. And I'm like, I know. Like, I put, like, and it's just like, girl, just say okay. Like, you don't need to, but it's so important to me that, like, it's kind of like the same reason you stack up your resume. It's like, I need you to know that I am smart and that but it's like, it's not that deep. They didn't tell you that because they think you're dumb. But, like, to me, it's because you think I'm dumb.
No, exactly. And I feel like sometimes it prevents me from speaking up because I never want to speak on something unless I'm fully educated on it, because I'm so afraid that, like, I'm gonna say something and somebody's gonna say something and I can't counter it. I also don't want to sound stupid trying to, like, not sound stupid, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's like a hesitancy to, like, share your opinion, which I think to some extent it can be helpful. Like, you want to make sure that you're educated before you speak on something, but at the same time you don't have to make sure you know everything in the world before you open your mouth.
That's it. Like, and I've been a victim of mansplaining. I remember when I think I was an editor as a freshman, and there was this one guy, and he used to send in articles, and I did the basic AP style grammar check. I did, like, the opinion fact check, and sometimes I never changed full sentences, but, like, maybe just changed on the syntax so it flowed better. And I found out from somebody who I worked with that he was talking badly about me at a party to another professor, and was like, yeah, this girl, like, she takes my articles, these masterpieces, and, like, just turns them into, like, pieces of garbage. Like, she just doesn't know what she's doing. And
where he at?
He asked one of, like, the male editors to only edit his work, and I was like, man, not only undermining, like, my capabilities, like,
also sprinkling some sexism in there.
I know, a little sprinkle of sexism. I was like, that's wild to me. So then I was like, oh my god, like, can I actually not edit? Like, am I stupid? Like, am I missing something? But, like, I just wish I wouldn't have taken it so to heart. I should have, like, brushed that right off my shoulder and been like, no, I'm your editor. I'm gonna edit your shit. Like, don't go to anybody else. Like, stood my ground. But also, he was a senior at the time, mind you. I was a freshman editing his stuff, so I wonder if an influence.
I think that's something that I've definitely, like, I've felt myself grow in already, and I still need to continue to, but, like, I have, you know, I immediately assume that, like, what someone else says or their opinion on me, it, like, I self-reflect immediately instead of, like, thinking about them, which I think it's good to, like, have some self-awareness and, like, reflect on yourself and, you know, always be willing to, like, look for where you can improve, but at the same time, like, just because somebody else has an opinion of you doesn't mean you need to criticize yourself. Like, you know, he says you can't edit. That doesn't mean you can't edit. Like, that means that maybe he doesn't know how to edit, you know? And, like, that's, like, something that I never took into consideration, specifically with, like, authority figures or, like, professors, adults. Like, I always kind of, I think it should be relatively, like, your, you know, baseline, like, to default. I think it should be, like, you know, the default to, you know, assume that professors know what they're talking about and are good at what they're doing. But, like, also, I've received some comments and criticisms from professors. I'm not talking about, like, comments on a doc grading my assignment. I'm talking about, like, things they've said to me, or, like, the way that they've gone about talking to me, or, like, made me feel a certain way that I was immediately like, oh, like, I'm thinking about some professors specifically that I'm not going to name right now, but I've thought, like, oh, like, am I dumb? Like, there was this one professor I had that was very condescending, and, you know, I would immediately be like, oh, it's because I'm dumb. Like, she's talking to me like I'm dumb because I'm probably dumb. Like, she knows more than me, and therefore, you know, she's been a professor for a few years. She's probably, like, sees that I'm dumb, and therefore I'm dumb. And, like, I was, like, super anxious about what she thought of me and, like, this and that. And then I'm like, I, you know, took a step back, talked to some other people about, you know, taking her class, and they all shared the same thing that I felt before I even opened my mouth about it. And I was like, okay, this is a her problem, not a me problem. You know, like, she's just putting students down for no reason. It's not because I'm dumb.
I used to have this professor in high school. He was, like, an English teacher. Now, mind you, one thing I can do is write. I can't do math. I can't do science. I can write very well. And I remember we had to do an essay on the Great Gatsby, and mind you, also, my high school is very small. Like, I've been in class with some of these guys. They cannot write for nothing. Like, run-on sentences, like, incorrect punctuation, all that, and the third. And when we got our grades back, all the girls had gotten, like, C's and B's. I fortunately pulled through with an A because at least I think I talked to him about my essay. That was why I think he kind of gave me like the whatever. But all these guys were
Yeah,
getting
guys,
like
go to office hours, talk to your professors. That's how you get the extra boost.
they were getting like 94s, 96, 98s, and I'm like, I know for sure that they are not. They are not. Their writing quality is not that level. But I think that's also an example of like, you know, when you give people an extra boost of confidence, it's like, and they put other people down because of it, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. For sure. And I think that like something that's helped with, you know, imposter syndrome and thinking about like my, you know, I'm like, what if I end up in this field or in this job and I'm, you know, held responsible for things that I don't know how to do, or like it's going to become clear that I don't know what I'm talking about, or I lack this skill, or I'm dumb in this way. And I'm like, not like in the least mean way possible. Just if you think about some of the people that are currently in those roles, some of your, I don't know, professors, some adults in your life, I'm like, they, you know, anytime that you've thought like, I'm like, basically I tell myself like, I'm like, okay, if they can do it, I'm good. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, literally, it takes nothing to be. I mean, just a lot of like, you can be stupid and you can like not know your stuff. It's your confidence and how well you. It's like that fake it till you make it sort of thing. It's the
confidence, networking. It is a fake it till you make it sort of thing. But then I get scared. Am I the one faking it?
It's so tricky because even it's like I was saying at the beginning, it's like even if you know your stuff and you're super smart, if you don't act like you know your stuff, then like, well, people are going to think, well, she doesn't know her stuff. And then that's where like the self-doubt creeps in. But then it's also like, it's like a double-edged sword because then at the same time, it's like, well, if I don't feel that way, like I'm not going to act that way. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. Like I'm thinking about in high school, you know, I'm hesitant to share. I participate in class. Like my participation is always pretty good.
Y'all ever get like hot and like sweaty after you like
yeah, for sure. Like my pits are damp. But I participate in class, but I only like to speak on things that like I'm confident about. Like I know what I'm talking about. If I'm not sure, that I only like in math class, you'll only catch me raising my hand if I know I have the right answer. Like I don't take a guess. Like you know, when there's people in class that raise their hand, the professor's like, no, that's not the right answer or something. I'm like that's my nightmare. I can't do that. And honestly, I should have done it more just for like exposure therapy, but like I just can't do that. And it's the same thing with like, you know, if I'm confused, like this is such a specific situation, but like if there's an assignment or something and I end up doing something wrong and the professor will be like, well, you should have told me if you were confused. And I'm like, yeah, I would have if I knew I was confused, but I was sure I was, you know what I mean? It's like, yes, for sure, trust. If I was confused or had a question, I would have come to you, but I just genuinely I thought I was doing it the right way. And then they can't grasp that. They're like, well, if you you know, didn't know you were doing it the right way, you should talk to me. And I'm like, I had no inkling I was not doing this the right way. And it goes both ways. It's like, you know, they're like, you should share. And I'm like, no, if I'm not sure, I won't. Like,
even being in advertising, it's especially, I feel like in advertising, yeah, you definitely have an even more heightened sense of imposter syndrome because you're not so much doing like formulaic equations where you get like one solid answer. You're not like always writing an essay where there's like, you know, you can tell there's good writing quality and bad. It's like a lot of time you're being judged based on your ideas. And there's nothing more like like, listen, I've done bad on a math quiz and like I've been like, well, damn, yeah, you know, like I'm just bad at math. But like there's nothing worse than like thinking you had a good idea and people are like, I don't really get it, or I don't think it's that strong. Because then I'm like, well, this just came from like the fruits of my mind. Like, am I just.
Yeah, because it's one thing to like peer review your research, but it's another thing to get feedback on the way your brain works. Because you know, when I talk about comm, like people are like, oh, you're lucky you're in comm. All of your like finals aren't you're not taking exams, you're writing papers and creating things. And I'm like, yes, but there's something more satisfying about being able to walk in to an exam, write down the answers. They're either right or wrong, and you walk out already kind of with an idea of how you did. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you know what you knew and you know what you didn't. And there's no kind of surprise factor there, and it's just very concrete, and the professor's comment, like the way they grade it is justifiable because the answer is either right or wrong. Whereas like it's much more subjective when if you're turning in an op-ed, you know, you think you did your best work, hopefully, and it could and also it's up to it's not a black and white right or wrong. It's the way what the professor thinks about your work is what your grade is. And it's just very like, sometimes I wish that because they also don't, there's only so much evidence they can cite for their opinion on your opinion.
I can't tell you how many hours I spent on Canva, Adobe, InDesign just to like scrap an idea because my professor was like, I just don't think it's that strong. And it's just like, oh, it's such a blow because not only are your eyes like now like burning because you've stared at a screen for 6 hours trying to like warp some text on a Stanley water bottle, but like there's nothing that came from it. It just feels like an attack on your mind almost. Like, yeah, you're just not enough up in here. It's crazy. I feel like, imposter syndrome also doesn't, it goes outside of school. It also, like, extends to, like, relationships and friendships, I feel like. Like, I feel like I try to be the best, like, friend or, like, girlfriend or anything I can be, but then sometimes I'll be sitting in my room late at night and I'm like, oh my God, like, I didn't text them enough today. I didn't hang out. I was sad today, so I didn't want to hang out, but now they probably think I don't want to hang out with them and they hate me. So, y'all talking about FOMO, worried about FOMO. I'm not worried about FOMO. I'm worried about, like, letting people down or like feeling like I'm a bad like friend or girlfriend, whatever, because I like didn't go to this event or I didn't do this or I didn't say that or literally it's so funny when I accepted an internship the other day and on the call I was like yeah, like yay, like and after I had an email and I'm like I'm so sorry, I don't know if I like communicated this well enough, but I am very excited. Like I don't like I always second guess that kind of stuff. I think I even said last week to somebody like I have a very nonchalant attitude when it comes to major things. Like when I found out I got into BU, I was literally at the cash register at my job. I saw the email opened up, confetti blew up, and I was like, hooray! And then I put it in my back pocket.
No, yeah,
kept
because
working
it's
the
this,
shift.
like, it's this feeling that I think we both have of like, it's not a celebration of an accomplishment. It's like a relief about something that we expected of ourselves. Because it's like that we just set the bar very high. So it's not like I think that was the same thing for me.
It's like the bare minimum.
It's the bare minimum. So it's like, you know, I'll feel stressed and like a lazy piece of shit for not doing work that it's fully internal deadlines that I set for myself. You know what I mean? Like I'm like it's, you know, I'll have like an assignment coming up or like it's extra stuff for PR Lab or the Buzz or something that like it's not even in my job description and I've assigned myself to do, and I assign myself a deadline in advance so that it gets done. And say it's something that I'm like, hey, I'll do this extra thing and I'll do it by Monday. So then I assign myself, I'm like, by Friday, I want to get started on this. And if I don't do it, I'm like, I'm letting everybody and myself down and like this and that. And like, I shouldn't have even been put in this position because look at how lazy I am. Like I can't even, and I just like start spiraling and criticizing myself. And it's like that I'm criticizing myself for not being early on going above and beyond. Like, hello? It's just, you have to put it in perspective and be like, okay, it's okay, like, not to be doing the most 110% of the time.
All my coworkers ask me how I have the grades I do, and I'm like, guys, it's because if like, you know, something's due on Wednesday, like, to me it's done by Friday.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people have been like, so when is this due? And I'm like, next week, and they're like, girl, why are you... You know, I hate those tweets, and it's like, isn't it such a relief, like, when you ask somebody if they started the project and they say they haven't? I hate it because I'm that person who said, yes, I have started it. Like, it's already done, actually. Because then they look at you like, oh, my God, like, this girl. I can't. Like, I will literally start, like,
yeah. No, I was that
spiral.
person, like, after a test, people would be like, oh, what did you get? And I'm like, I don't want to tell you based on your tone because I did better. Like, it's like, it wouldn't even be in 100. It would be like a grade that like I was like for myself, you know, but then like other people that's like a really good grade. So then I had this kind of, I guess, reputation in high school. They would be like, they'd be like, oh, of course. They were like, what'd you get, Anna? Of course you got this. And I was like, and I couldn't even like express my disappointment in what I got because I had to read the room. But like, I feel like sometimes we accidentally live on a different planet.
Yeah. I mean, because I feel like this sense of imposter syndrome also extends to, like, whether or not I think people like me. Because then I'm like, well, I think they like me, but I'm not, like, fully being myself in front of them. They're, like, they only like me
I
this,
get that, too. I'm like...
one version of myself I'm putting up. And, like, I mean, I'm dealing with, like, a lot of personal things right now. So I'm always afraid, like, if I say yes to a hangout and I go there and I can't be, like, 100% myself or 100% happy, that they're going to think that well, she's just mopey and sad all the time, and like I don't want to hang out with her, and I'm just like, damn, I gotta.
I'm like, people, when I think about like my, I was reflecting something when I got to college that I like really struggled with was like comparing the like friendship. I was actually talking to Brianna Charles about this earlier today because I passed her in the hall and we started yapping. But like, when you get to college, it's jarring and you're faced with making friendships and you're comparing any new interaction to like these deep-rooted year-long relationships that you've built in your life, and now you're kind of starting from scratch, and it's like you have to give yourself lenience. And I forget where I was going with this. I was gonna say like, and as I'm making these new friendships, like now flash forward, junior spring, I'm reflecting on like the friendships I have made, and I'm like, I always catch myself doubting that they're real friendships because I'm like, I don't, they don't know this side of me, or like they, I'm like, yeah, it's a friendship, but like, what if they have this perception of me that's not actually entirely accurate? So they're only friends with the version of me that like I'm accidentally showing them, and it's not a full version of me that's the real version of me. And then I'm like, girl, what the hell? Like,
sometimes I think I'm crazy because sometimes I'm like, wait, maybe they're only friends with me because
maybe
they feel bad for me. Maybe we are crazy.
People listening to this are gonna be like, these
someone get them in therapy, like
doctor, she's out of bed again.
But I sometimes think, are they just friends with me because they feel bad for me, because like I'm nice to them? Like, what is it? Because sometimes I doubt my own personality to the point I'm like, well, why would someone want to be my friend? Why would somebody want to hang out with me one-on-one? Like, I'm kind of just like weird and off. I don't know.
I'm the queen of weird and off-putting.
Please. But so it's like every now and then I'll get just like such a nice text from somebody. Like somebody called me the other day, like not texted me, not nothing, called me, and I was like, wait, this is crazy because we're not even like, we haven't known each other for very long. And she just called me and like asked how I was doing, and I was like, wow, so maybe I haven't like made as bad of an impression on people as I thought. Like, wow, this is crazy concept. Yeah. But it's just crazy how it like literally is like a plague. It infiltrates every like aspect of your perception.
Yeah, for sure. I think that like, I think the root of all of this for both of us sounds like it's just a anxiety around how we're being perceived by others. And it's not about the fact that we are being perceived. It's just like we're control freaks. Like, it needs to be a certain way.
And this is not to say that I have no confidence that I'm like the most insecure girl in the world.
Yeah.
I definitely was at one point. I've gained so much of it. It just, it comes in waves. So like there are moments where I'm like riding this high and I'm like, I have it all together. Like I figured it out. I have an interview lined up. Like I'm doing well. Like I'm making somebody proud. And then there's other moments where I'm like, oh my God, like girl, what am I doing with my life? Like I'm gonna be poor, living in a cardboard box outside of Warren Towers. No one's gonna love me.
Warren Towers.
I'm gonna be all by myself.
You can eat the fruit that they sell.
Please.
I think that's actually an interesting point. Like you saying, like you were that insecure girl at one point, and I think I was too. I think that we were both really freaking awkward in middle school. And I think that as we've gone forward with our lives and felt more, confident in ourselves, more sure of who we are, and built these relationships that where we're no longer perceived as like awkward, I feel like there's kind of this feeling of I have to protect that and keep it going, or they're gonna find out that I'm really awkward and weird, and that's the only thing. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like what's her name? Catty Herring in Mean Girls. She was the weird homeschooled girl
who homeschooled jungle freak.
She's the homeschooled jungle freak, and she tricked everyone into believing that she's a plastic. But she truly actually was a plastic, but she felt like she was tricking everybody. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the weird homeschooled jungle freak, and I'm like lying to everybody. But it's like,
okay, there's like this concept, like I've told people and they're like, what are you talking about? I literally call it the ugly girl syndrome. That's what I call it. And it's like, I'm not saying I'm ugly. I'm saying that
Shorty's gorgeous.
I grew up very awkward and a little ugly low-key. Like my hair was frizzy. Like I wore it, like I told you, founding
Don't
father
play.
style.
I'll go photo for photo.
I had braces. I had 2 front teeth, nothing else. Like I was like a bit of an ugly girl. Like, I was just figuring out my style, very like whatever. We can even call this awkward girl syndrome, if you will. And I mean, now I'm in college. Like I have my own style. I have more than 2 front teeth. I figured out how to do my hair.
Yeah, I had braces twice.
I know how to do my makeup. Like I just things that like not make me prettier, but like have enhanced what I already have. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But in the back of my mind, I still think of myself as that like ugly, awkward little middle schooler, and it doesn't ever leave you. Even if people call you pretty, even if like whatever you get hit on, it's not like magically I'm just gonna be like, wow, I'm just so beautiful and amazing. It's just like I just don't always see myself
Yeah.
that way, and that's not always a terrible thing because I love that version of myself too. I'm learning to love that version of myself. And I just keep her in my back pocket.
I think that, this concept of like enhancing what you've got, like enhancing your natural beauty with makeup, for example, is like applied to everything in our lives. Like I think over time, the reason that we've gotten from that weird, awkward stage to where we are, which is hopefully different, I'm like looking around the room like, and I think that it's because we've learned how to, where our strengths lie. We've learned how to enhance what we've got and like make that work for us. And I think that we're like, be in us doing that, it makes it like less obvious like what our weaknesses are. Like that used to be like what we led with in a way. And it's like now it's kind of hidden, and I know very strongly it's there, and what I was insecure about, and to me like some of these things aren't even true anymore. Like there were different parts of me that like are completely different now that like I used to be insecure about, and like but now even though it's like changed, I feel like I'm just like hiding it behind a curtain and like somebody's gonna find out.
So that's why honestly sometimes I hate that people are like, you just need to snap out of imposter syndrome, just like get confidence, because honestly I think self-doubt is what makes us human. It's what makes us competitive. It's what makes us want to like be our best versions of ourselves and like constantly keep growing and changing and evolving to be like the absolute most perfect version of ourselves. I think it gets tricky when like you have tunnel vision and all you can see is like this ideal perfect version of yourself that like you're just realistically never going to achieve. But I think a competitive spirit is a good thing. Like I feel like if I didn't feel so insecure sometimes, I wouldn't have pushed myself to like become number one in my class, or like keep really good grades, or like go after like things that maybe I wasn't like perfectly qualified for, but I wanted to like give it a shot, or like run for leadership positions. Like even becoming editor-in-chief here, I was kind of like, yeah, maybe, because I was just like, I don't think anybody's gonna like, how am I gonna lead people? Like I don't think people really look at me as a leader figure, but like I've gotten it together, I feel like. Hopefully,
yeah, for sure. I think
a
little bit of comparison can be healthy, not necessarily comparison of like who am I right now and who is she right now and which one's better, but more so comparison of like your where you are right now and where you want to end up, because it helps you like make a path forward. Like I think that a lot of my achievements came from like me seeing somebody else in a position and me being like, ugh, like I'm terrible because I'm not there, but more me being like, oh, that's my new direction. So
it's inspiration.
Like like it helped. I was on the crew team in high school, and like I was like looking at all of when I joined the team as a freshman, I was like, look at all of these like really impressive rowers. Like I want to be known that way. I want to feel the accomplishment that they're feeling right now. So then
makes you hungry for it.
It makes you hungry for it. So I worked, and I was, junior year first boat varsity. Like you work for what you want when you're inspired to do so. Like the same thing with the Buzz. Like I, as PR and events director, I was doing a lot that wasn't necessarily a part of my scope of work, and that's why you and Rachel put me in this position.
I think it's interesting because the people who like have like the worst case of imposter syndrome or like the least amount of confidence are the ones who are like the biggest go-getters and are the most ambitious because they feel like they have something to prove. And it's ironic, but those are the ones who honestly end up probably becoming the most successful because they just have that constant drive. They have that constant like pressure on their back of like, I need to be this best version of myself. And I think, like I said, even with the Buzz, no tea, no shade. I remember there was like maybe it was a semester or two ago, people kind of were commenting on my communication and leadership style, and I was just like, I took that to heart because I was like, this is my first time in a role like this. Like I'm dealing with a lot of things outside the Buzz, and I thought in my head I was doing a very good job. So
I thought you were too.
To have other people be like, make comments about it, and they weren't even nothing major. They were just like sly little things. I was like, that kind of like stings. But honestly, I think, and I was hurt for a long time and I was upset about it, but I kind of realized like I'm doing the best that I can. We've accomplished so many things, including this podcast. We said we were going to do it for like 3 semesters. We finally did it. Like it just keeps me pushing to want to be better. Once you can like get out of your head about like, is this like an attack on my personality? Like no, or my character. It's just like general critique. Like you got to roll with the punches. You have to have thick skin to get anywhere in life.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, that like a little bit that anxiety or like, pressure can be, you know, productive and like, or not, yeah, it can push you to like accomplish what you want to do. But I think, it it's gotten, sometimes it can get to the point where it's not just a little shove, it's like it's chasing after me for my life, and I'm trying like hell to escape, and it's gonna eat me alive.
It's funny. I was literally I had been debating about applying for like a leadership position in another class I'm in for a very long time because I'm like, I mean, I'm already on e-board for it, but I don't know if I just like having someone to turn to when I like don't know the answer to everything, and they can steer me in the right direction, and then therefore it's like not my fault. Like I just have something to fall back on, and I'm like, I don't know how I would do if like it was just me and I had no one to turn to, and I was the one who was supposed to have all the answers. But like I don't know, I was just sitting at my vanity doing my makeup one day, and I was like you've done this forever. Like, why wouldn't you be capable? Like, are you stupid? Like, I was like, are you stupid?
Are you
like,
stupid? Guys, I've been talking to myself a lot.
I
I walk around my apartment yapping. There's no one there.
So again, I'm not crazy, I swear, but I just like sat there and I was just like, one of my favorite songs came on. And I just had like this boost of like, wow, like all is right in the world. But I was like, man, I should not. Like, I'm gonna send this application in right now. Like, there's no reason I have to be scared. Like, when I know I've had the experience, like I've done the work, like I'm capable of doing what I'm doing, and I'm not gonna let the fear of me not being able to do that like stop me, you know?
Yeah. I feel like it's being in these positions, it's also added, like, we're editors in chief of the Buzz, and then like we each have our like e-board positions in Ad Lab and PR Lab. And I feel like having that like leadership and also visibility like for other people has kind of given us an audience, and that like you might not necessarily realize. So like there's like kind of this, sometimes it's like you get some comments from the peanut gallery, but like but sometimes it's like really fulfilling because you realize that like there's, while you might not be acknowledging all of this cool stuff that you're doing, other people are. Like, Darcy will like or Caddy even will randomly like text, reach out and be like, I've been watching Rachel. Yeah. She'll, I've been watching, like, and you guys like seem like you're killing it, and it's like, okay, we're killing it. Like,
okay,
thank
yeah,
God.
we are.
Thank God, because it like right now it's like it doesn't necessarily always feel like that when you're in the thick of it. And like for example, the other week, I was gonna have my interview to be president of PR Lab. I was gonna be interviewing with the professors. I was waiting. I hadn't told anybody this though, but I was waiting like after e-board meeting to like talk to the current presidents to ask if they had any advice, tell them about the interview and ask if they had any advice. And while I was standing there waiting, some other girl from e-board, Taylor, I had never talked to Taylor before. This moment, like she comes up to me and she's just like, she goes, hey, like, it was to the point, guys, we hadn't interacted, like we've been on e-board together, but we hadn't interacted like so to the point where like she came up to me and I didn't know if she had the right girl. Like I was like, she was like, hey, like, are you gonna be continuing on e-board next semester? And I was like, yeah, like that's my plan. And she was like, oh great, just cause like I just really want to work with you. And I was just like, oh, like, and that was it. That was all she wanted to say. And you know what? She's now my co-president. Like which is so cool. Like that's just some really cool foreshadowing. Like shout out Taylor, because we, at the time, neither one of us, like we hadn't even applied. Like neither one of us knew we were going to be president, and she was making sure I was just going to be on e-board generally so that she could work alongside me, and that was just really like nice to hear. But yeah, like even like at the Buzz, like, it's, Brianna this morning was telling me about how the community of the Buzz has really helped her in like this, like navigating friendships and stuff, coming to BU as a freshman. Well, I didn't even realize she was a freshman. She like coming to BU as a freshman, and I was just like, okay, like even like we put all this pressure on ourselves that it's like maybe we haven't thrown like, a record-breaking over-the-top launch party, but we're having genuine impact on people, and I feel like it's like important to slow down and acknowledge that, and we don't do that enough.
Oh, for sure. Like literally yesterday somebody told me that they had they were pinging me in Basecamp, but they had the desktop open, and next to somebody, and they were like, oh, how do you know Analise? Like just random people have come up to me and been like, oh my God, my friend knows you. And I'm like, who? Or last semester I was walking in comm and somebody was like, are you Ask Abby? I was like, how do y'all know I'm Ask Abby?
No,
like,
literally, like in the gym earlier this semester, like a Buzz member came up to me and was like, "Oh my God, like you're editor-in-chief of the Buzz, like you just approved my article, like thank you
some
so
girl,
much."
I was like, check out at Brandy, and she's like, are you part of the Buzz? I'm like, yeah, like, so it's just funny, like you don't realize, like, I guess your impact on a larger scope. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I just feel like in general, like with imposter syndrome and everything like that, my issue has been like sometimes I get so worried that if I can't be perfect, I don't want to do the thing at all. So I feel like it's that whole like, you know, I don't.
Yeah, it's I want to be. I want. What is the? I want to be perfect. Oh, I want to be from Little Women. I want to be great or nothing.
Right. It's more of like that sentiment of like don't wait to show up to be confident. Like show up and learn to be confident when you get there. Like you don't have to like wait for this. Period. Because let me tell you, some of the most arrogant, stupid people I've ever met in my entire life, like, are in these high-ranking positions, or like are the voice people all listen to just because they're like overly confident. And I feel like this is something particular to women because I feel like a lot of guys just have a natural like confidence in them. I feel like women are kind of beat into them that like you shouldn't be the loudest voice in the room. You shouldn't take up space.
You're also we're more likely to get criticized for a very small mistake, you know. I was, you know, my professor sent out information about an internship opportunity or a job opportunity today. And like in the, you know, that had a list of qualifications and whatever. But it also was very interesting. It's from the Comm Research Center, or it's from Comm has like a new center or something. And it also came with a note that was like, keep reading, like even if you don't hit every single one of these qualifications, just note that women and people of color and like a list of basically straight cis white men are more likely to not even apply if they don't meet every single qualification, whereas like men are just going to be like, you know, yeah, they don't even consider like not applying just because they don't meet one of those bullet points. And like, that's why they get more of the job. That's not fully why, but like, you know, it starts at the application process. It's not just like we're not even trying to get through the door because we're like, oh, I don't qualify, I won't. But like, we have to have that confidence of like, you know, maybe my other skills are strong enough that it's going to make up for this area where I can improve in.
One issue I've had lately is like, men don't want to shake my hand. They never want to shake my hand. This happened when I got my car, and I was paying for the car outright in cash. My dad was just putting his name on the title for like the insurance purposes. The guy who I got the car from went to shake my dad's hand. Didn't offer to shake mine until I put my hand out. Even the other day, met this guy, like, shook the other guy's hand, and then I had to put my hand out to be shaken, and I was like, wow, like, I try to there's moments like that where I want my confidence to like shine through, where I'm like, I see you, you see me, I introduce myself. It's just a matter of fact that you should shake my hand no matter what. Like,
even in social situations, like I'll be with like my brother or something, and like we'll be going over to one of our friends, and the guy, he'll dap Nate up and then not dap me up. Or give me a weird side hug, and I'm like, no, get away from me with your sweaty body. I don't want you to hug me, dap me up. What are you doing?
That's crazy. But yeah, I think overall, like in closing, I think imposter syndrome, it's something everybody deals with, even if they don't show it. I think those who do show it more definitely have more of a drive and ambition behind them. But it's just important to remember that, like, again, self-doubt is what makes you human, but it's more of, like, how you overcome that determines where that leads you. Like, you could be really smart and do all these great things, but if you never gain confidence or you never, like, form the drive to, like, put yourself out there, you're just going to fall flat on your face every single time. So I think one thing I've definitely been working on, like, throughout my time at college is, like, learning how to, like, have enough confidence to stand on my own 2 feet and like get in a room and like present something, or like go and talk to a professor, or like cold email people. Like I'm trying to like really grow out of my shell.
Yeah, I kind of have the same, like, if we want a little metaphor here, it's not a good one. It's kind of the same philosophy, that trusting this, like, you know, this pressure and anxiety about like being better. I kind of have to have the same balance with it that I do with my glasses. I use them, you know, I use them to see when I need to, but if I keep them on for too long, it gives me a blinding migraine. And, like, I need to, you know, when I'm not, sitting in the classroom or actively doing something, I need to take them off to give myself a break. And I think that that's like similar to like, I have to trust my, my instincts, my hunger
For
to
sure.
do more, but not tear myself down when I don't go the extra mile. You know what I mean? Like, you have to celebrate when you cross the finish line. You don't beat yourself up because you didn't go for another lap. It's crazy that like this crazy high bar that we've set for ourselves, we need to acknowledge, like, put it in perspective and understand that like we can only do so much.
I think the oh my god, I feel like the fear of failure is something that just weighs on everybody's back constantly, like a big anvil. But I think it's those moments where you drop it off and actually go and run full speed to the finish line that you actually begin to accomplish things. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't be afraid of, like, probably running to that finish line. You're going to get a cramp in your leg. You're going to trip on your face. Like, something bad is, like, it's inevitable. You're going to fail, but that doesn't mean that should forever, like, make you question if you're capable or not.
Yeah. I think I really want to like reiterate the sentiment that you said earlier. Don't wait to show up till you're confident. Show up until you're confident, because the only way that you're going to get better at like a job or a task or a position or any skill is by practicing and by doing. You don't need to wait until you're perfect. So submit that job application.
Oh, yes. Put that LinkedIn easy apply resume out there. But yeah.
And trust yourself.
Yes. It has been a lovely semester. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you in the fall.
Bye.
Bye.
Good luck editing that. We lost our train.